Ladies and gentlemen, introducing our challenger, the rookie underdog, Lil David. And now, the undisputed favorite, current champion, Goliath Edge.
This is my setup. I'm gonna put on the Lidl Shoes first and I'm gonna do my warm-up with them. I'm also gonna take my bag and put the Metaspeeds in them so that I can change to Metaspeeds in the middle of the session. And yeah, I'm also gonna take 2 gels to have enough energy for the session. I just finished my warm-up in the Lidl Shoes, 3 kilometers and a bit, couple of pickups. My first impression of the Lidl Shoes is that they are not as bad as I thought they would be. It's actually quite nice to run with them, but one thing I noticed is that they basically have no cushioning and it feels like running on bare feet or on very used up shoes. Now I'm gonna switch to the Metaspeeds. I'm gonna do a short warm-up in them to get used to the feeling. Then I'm gonna start doing the 400 intervals. So 4 intervals in the Metaspeeds, 8 intervals in Lidl Shoes, and then another 4 intervals in the Metaspeeds. Because I'm not much of an influencer, I'm not used to running with a camera, so I'm not even gonna try to run with a camera this time. I'm just gonna put it on the floor and try to do a couple of videos from there and hope that a dog doesn't eat it or pee on it or whatever. My first 4 intervals in the Metaspeeds. Now I'm gonna change to Lidl Shoes and I'm gonna do 8 intervals in them. I'm curious to see how the times and the paces are gonna compare. I'm gauging all my efforts on RPE. I'm not looking at time, pace, heart rate, whatever. I'm just running at what I feel like is threshold pace. And for me, that's how I always do every threshold interval workout. I just run at the fastest speed possible, at which I don't start heavily breathing, so going above the second ventilatory threshold. Lidl Shoes are on. I'm gonna take a gel so I have enough energy for all the intervals, and yeah, then we're gonna see how they compare. Eight intervals done in Lidl Shoes, and I have to tell you, I am not looking at my splits during the workout, but this is indescribably harder than running in ASICS. This felt like torture. This felt like I was running with, I don't know, cement blocks on my feet. I'm really curious to see what the time difference is gonna be, but right now I think these are, I don't know, at least 5 seconds slower per 400 meters. Anyway, back in the ASICS, last 4 intervals before we finish the session. Here we go, all the intervals done. I think I paced them well. Like I said, I wasn't looking at the splits while I was running, but they felt indescribably slower, a lot slower, I think. the splits are gonna tell. But yeah, heavy, unresponsive. Basically, it's kind of like a mix of running and weight training. So if you want to include some strength training into your running routine, I recommend you get these Lidl shoes. I think they might be the perfect fit for those hybrid guys, so they can run and strength train at the same time. But yeah, anyway, just a cool down to go. I just checked the splits and I have to tell you that I'm pretty surprised about what I see. The first 4 intervals in ASICS Metaspeed Edge were 1:18, 1:16, 1:22 and 1:19. Now the distances vary, although I ran from the same point to the same point for all the intervals, but I guess the Garmin GPS is not totally accurate. So the paces for the first 4 intervals were 3:02, 3:07, 3:08 and 3:09 minutes per kilometer. Then I changed my shoes and I ran 8 intervals in Lidl Shoes, and the times were 1:23, 1:19, 1:23, 1:20, 1:24, 1:22, 1:27 and 1:21, which means that the average pace for these intervals in Lidl Shoes was from 3:10 to, let's say, 3:18 per kilometer. And then I changed back to ASICS Metaspeed Edge and did the final 4 intervals in them. And the splits for the last 4 intervals were 1:21, 1:18, 1:22 and 1:20, which means that the pace was 3:07, 3:05, 3:06 and 3:12. So if I have to summarize everything what I just said, all the splits, I have to say that the difference is not as big as I thought it would be. Running in Lidl Shoes seemed very difficult, much more difficult than the splits suggest. And I remember that during the intervals I said that I wouldn't be surprised if the splits were even 5 seconds slower. Well, it turns out that they weren't that much slower, because the average paces were just barely slower than in ASICS Metaspeed Edge shoes. But like I said, the perception of effort was much higher. For the final review of the day. These Lidl running shoes are not that bad, I would say, if you are a beginner runner or if you are not looking to have a fast time or to do fast intervals. They are quite comfortable. I have a bit of a wider feet than most people, but I can tell you that these shoes fit me very well, so they are suitable for people with wide feet. One thing I don't like is that they have basically no support, at least in my feeling. My feeling is like I was running barefoot. They have absolutely no bounciness. They are quite heavy, so running in them is heavier and tougher than running in normal running shoes. But like I said, overall they are not that bad. I don't feel like they pose a critical injury risk. Of course, I only tested them once. This was my first run in them, so I don't have much experience. But considering they are only 14 euros, I think that they would be a nice fit for somebody who has a low budget and who is only recreationally active, who runs a couple of times per week, who is not looking for fast times and just wants to stay active and run a bit.